Now, these are just some random thoughts I've had, so let's have just go through them. Right now in the news cycle, in the media, everything I hear is about the crash, the bubble, how difficult it is, that everything is going backwards and downwards, and layoffs and cuts and inflation, and people are battling. And I'm sure it's all real. I'm not even suggesting that it's not real. Okay, so that's the first thing. The world is apparently in turmoil, and every time this happens, because it happened quite a lot in my house, my life, in my grey hairs, I've been through a couple. So, and every 5 or 8 years, something happens, and this is the big one. This is the one that we've been warning us about and everything. And it just seems to me that it just keeps happening. But none of them are any worse than the others. So I think we need to get a handle on exactly what's going on here and just look at it through the eyes of the buyer and the seller. So just a fun fact. In the last 24 hours, Wikipedia has been updated the word recession 22 times. So that means 22 people have taken the time to go there and change the meaning, the definition of the word recession. And the only reason they would do that is for their own benefit. So if you're a American politician who's going into a big, massive November election in less than 2 weeks' time, and you're a Democrat, you don't want the word recession to mean 2 cycles of downturn, 2 quarters of downturn. No. If you're a Republican, you do want that because it suits your narrative. So every Republican that's logged on to Wikipedia has changed it. We're in a recession. You see, a recession means this. And then 20 minutes later, a Democrat would log on and say, no, recession doesn't mean that. It means something else. Okay. So the point is, it's very difficult to get a handle on what these actually terms mean. And I think I'm coming to the conclusion is it actually doesn't matter what they mean. That's all nonsense. So let's have a look. So bear in mind that these words are used by people. And we've spoken about this before, that the only reason that people log on to news and to buy newspapers and to follow the feeds on your cell phones is because it's negative and it's so alarming. You know, it's always, every time, shocking news, horrifying statistics, terrifying downturn, bubble bursting. It's all this very emotive language. And that's what sells newspapers, and that's what gets people to log on. Because everybody's competing now for the time on the interwebs and on the news cycles. So good news isn't sexy. Good news sucks. So if it says that, very good news, Anton's looking good today, his hair's fantastic, I don't know how many newspapers you're going to sell. I agree. I think my hair is fantastic. Doesn't sell newspapers. If you wrote an article that says, prominent estate agent's head caught fire when irate wife set him alight, you better believe, bro, front page. On the front page, Anton, suddenly I will be a prominent estate agent. Yesterday, when I had cool hair, nobody cared about that. Okay. So remember that news is manufactured, and it's manufactured to sell, and journalists with all good intentions are always sucked into it. Remember, if you're getting paid to work for NASPATS or for Property 24, you can't not report, and you can't not give them stuff to put on the front pages. So you can't just send your boss, hey, everything's lacquer today. You can't say that. You've got to say, no, there's a massive housing bubble and everybody's going to be homeless and COVID's coming. And Julius Malema says that everybody must die. That's what sells newspapers. Okay. So these experts are telling us exactly what to think of the property market. They're telling us that inflation's rife, that there's a housing bubble, that prices are going to, that the property market in South Africa is in trouble, that sales are slowing, and that it's desperate. Okay, but who are these experts? It's some out from, that's come out of varsity who's called himself a journalist, so he's got a sticker, and he's writing an article, and he's got a deadline at 10 o'clock. He's got to get an article to his editor so that he can get it on the front page, otherwise he doesn't get paid. So he'll write anything he likes. He'll write whatever it takes to get on the front page. Okay. So remember who the actual experts are. That's you guys. You guys are literally the experts in property. Now, you might not believe that. And even if you're a rookie agent, the minute that you join Property 24, Property Koza, beg your pardon, as soon as you join Property Koza, you become an expert. Why? Not because of you, but because of the company that you've joined. The fact that you've got a principal two principals, you've got mentors, you've got experienced people helping you, you've got a system that's been put together over many years. All the documentation, all of our systems, all of the navigators and treasure maps and the Cheryls and the Lindas and the Antons working together makes you the expert. You know, you can't be an expert engineer if you don't work for an engineering plant. I'm a nuclear engineer. Lekker, where do you work? No, in my basement. That doesn't make you an expert. You've got to work for Kuberg or for somebody that recognizes you and supports you. So please believe me that you are the experts. Okay, and what else makes you the expert? The sales data that we have, the CMAs that we can produce, and the fact that our office is doing 30 or even 40 sales a month. Those are big numbers, man. We already do know our stuff. So, and that's you guys. Well done to you guys. You're flipping fantastic. And remember that we're the #1 office in the country. So by my estimation, we are the most expert property people in the greater outer spiral arm of the Milky Way. Okay, so you guys are actually fantastic. So I should actually just stop there and we should just all go home now knowing that we are experts. But let's check something out. Who knows? For a cup of coffee, why do doctors wear white coats? It's not a trick question. Anybody know? And it's not for the blood. Nobody know? Okay, I'll tell you. Doctors wear white coats because they don't know what they're doing. Think about it. Doctors wear white coats because they literally don't know what they're doing. So you must understand, if you study medicine and you've been at Wits for 7 years and you get your doctor's certificate, and they put you into Barra, into the trauma unit, and if somebody comes in whose head's been cut off, do you really think that you know what you're doing straight out of varsity? You know nothing. But the white coat is what gives you the confidence and gives you the fake it until you make it. And there's literally a beautiful story I heard from a doctor. He said to me, he said, the way it works in medicine is that you train, and there is so much knowledge that you can't take it in. Okay, so you learn a lot of stuff. And then you start doing your rounds. And on the very first day of your rounds, you are a doctor. So what do? They give you a coat of authority and they give you a stethoscope. Not so you can use the coat and the stethoscope because you actually don't know how to use the stethoscope yet. That's how doff you are. You've learned about stethoscopes, but what are you going to listen to? Beating heart, beat, beat, beat. Okay, he sounds alive, but what do you actually know in your second year of medicine? You know, bugger all. So what does the coat and the stethoscope give you? It gives you credence and credibility with your clients. So when Van der Venter walks in there with his hair on fire, that he looks at around the room, who's he going to pick there? The lady with the stethoscope and feel comfortable and confident, please can you help me? Or the aching jeans with holes in? He's going to pick the stethoscope person, and immediately everything is professionalized. I'm now talking to a doctor who's going to save my life. And the doctor's got a stethoscope even. Fantastic. It gives great comfort. Now, the doctor doesn't know what he's doing, okay, because he's new. So what does the doctor do? The doctor follows the script, and that's a pun intentionally. And what is the script of a doctor? He says, hello, how are you? And Sandy, are you feeling good today? No. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're not well. What exactly is it that's troubling you? You got a headache. And are you sleeping well? Yes. And have you eaten? And when last did you go to the bathroom? Okay, now I'm going to take your temperature and I'm going to listen to your heart. And that is a script. He's learned it. It's on a piece of paper in medical school. Ask those 5 questions, because in that line of questioning, something will pop up. And Sandy's going to say, no, I haven't slept for 2 weeks because Van der Venter's got his hair on fire and I can't sleep because I'm so concerned. And he's going to say, I think I know what the problem is. It's anxiety. And there you've been diagnosed by a who knows zero about medicine, because you had the confidence to listen to him and he followed a script. And what the doctor who was telling the story said, he says, you walk down that passage in absolute morbid terror that somebody's going to come to you with a head wound. And because you don't know what you're doing, you've got the stethoscope and you've got the white coat and you walk around and you just keep saying the same things. The script is what you say. You say the same thing over and over. And he says at some point, you suddenly realize that you're no longer using the script, that you actually know what you're talking about, and that you have become a professional. And he said, as a doctor, he doesn't know when it happened exactly. He didn't pinpoint it. But one day he got home, and as he was taking his coat off, he said, you know what? I don't need the coat anymore. I'm now a doctor. I know exactly what to do when somebody's hair's on fire. I know exactly what to do with the stethoscope. And how did I do it? I faked it until I made it. And faking it doesn't mean bullshitting. He didn't make stuff up. He followed the scripts. He followed the paperwork. He followed the business model that he was within. Okay. So that's why you guys are the experts, because you can say the same things. You can learn things to say to clients, and you can use the scripts for telephones, and you can answer their questions because we've got experienced people around you, and you've got training systems that are in place that'll tell you what to say. And eventually you'll say it in the same way 100 times, and suddenly you realize, hey, I'm not saying it like Anton says it anymore. I'm saying it like I want to say it. And I can probably bet you R1,000 Rob doesn't say things like I say them. In fact, I don't have to bet you R1,000, I'll bet you R1,000,000 he doesn't say them like I say them. Okay, so he's got a different way. Urea's got a different way. Why? Because they become professional and expert agents by saying the things. But when they started Brew, they started by saying the right things. So please don't overthink it. You are experts by virtue of you joining the company and getting your virtual white coat and stethoscope. And when somebody says to you, what do you don't say, oh, I've just started in property. No, I'm a property professional. How do you know? Because the PPRA says I'm a property professional, and I can never argue with them. They're running the whole flipping country's property sector. So they call me a professional. Who am I to argue with those experts? Okay. So that's why doctors wear white coats, and that's why we should be comfortable in addressing this massive problem of the property breakdown. Now, that is one page of Google. And the question I typed in there is real estate property cycle. And those are all the graphs that relate to the property cycle. Yeah. There are thousands, and then every page has got a property cycle. So what this tells me is that the news reports that we're in such a big turmoil, that the world's ending, that there's nuclear war coming. Well, that happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis. If you've got gray hair, you'll remember JFK trying to stop the Russians' nuclear war in Cuba. This has happened many times. This is just another one. These things are cyclical. They just go on and on and around and around. So this must be that everybody should just take a deep breath. And we need to be able to address very specific facts to our clients so as they don't get too excited, so that we can do our jobs. Okay. So if you want to know about property cycles, it's on. There's a property cycle and it's around. And where we are in the cycle, I'm actually not sure, but let's have a look. So what do we tell our buyers? Because now the interest rates are going up. Eh? So everybody now again, ooh, property. Somebody said to me the other day, yes, Anton, you property oaks, there's trouble now with the interest rates. Eh? Big trouble. I'm going like, what do you mean? What? What's happened? What haven't I heard? No, man, the interest rates are going up. So you guys obviously are finished now. So what are you talking about? Interest rates going up is the best thing I've ever heard. I hope they go up twice. Actually, I hope they go all the way up. And when they come down, ooh, Anton, the interest rates are coming down. You must be finished. So what for? It doesn't matter what the interest rates do as long as they keep moving. The last thing I want as a property broker is dead stability. Imagine if nobody got divorced, nobody died, nobody downscaled, nobody upscaled, and there weren't interest rate changes. There would be nothing to sell. So the more woelig the market is, the better it is for us. Eh? Okay, so a buyer says to you, is it a good time to buy when the interest rates are high or climbing? Now, they won't say those words to you. They're not going to say, hey, Ken, is it a good time to buy if the interest rates are high? They will just allude to it. Oh, you know, I've looked at these houses, but the interest rates, so you know what the underlying question is. The fundamental question is it okay to buy when the interest rates are high? And the answer is yes. This is the perfect time to buy. You have hit the jackpot, Mr. Smith. You are in the market now with ammo. You got the money. And the interest rates are starting to climb. That means the prices are coming down because there are less buyers in the market. So you are one of the chosen few. You are the chosen one. You've got money and the ability to buy. And everybody out there who's trying to sell is watching in horror as the pool of buyers shrinks. So the prices come down. So you should climb in right now. And I'm here to help you do that. Okay, so it's a very good time to buy. Okay, so what are the pros? Well, the pros are you'll get properties at a lower price. Why? Because the market is under pressure. There are less buyers out there. Why are there less buyers? Because buyers have to go to the bank with affordability. And if they earn 10,000 Rand a month, the house price and the interest rate was X amount. Now, because the interest rate's gone up, the amount they can buy has gone down. So they're going to say, well, I can't afford to buy now. So the amount of buyers has gone down. So those buyers that are in the market are less. Therefore, the prices come down, and it's good for you as the broker. Now, the interest rates will come down again. So you say to the guy, I'll show you my cyclical graph. This is property's got like a 7-year cycle or an 18-year cycle, depending on who you talk to. So it goes up and it comes down, and interest rates go up and down. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, that's what it does. They go up and down all the time, and they just go up and down. And as the inflation grows, they increase the interest rates, and inflation stabilizes, and they drop the interest rates. So interest rates will go up and down. But my estimation of it, it is more important to buy property for the long run. What you want to do is time of ownership. It is better for you to have a property for 30 years than to get it at a cheap price. So if you said to me now, Anton, you can buy this property across the road for R1 million, or you can buy it in 10 years' time for R1. What would you do? I'd pay R1 million for it today because I want to own it for 10 years. The longer you own property, the better it's going to be for you. Okay. Sorry, Gary. Gary asked me a question.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, there's just on that slide, there's an FNB forecast out last week. They reckon interest rates will start coming down February 24. That's a good milestone because that's less than 2 years. It's actually about 18 months. And so that cements your argument to say buy now, because in less than 18 months, you'll start seeing that S-curve grow again. And as you refer to that cycle. So that's a good motivation for them to buy now as an investment or to occupy.
Cool. Thanks, Gary. Yes. So the cons of buying now, the buyer will say, but the interest rates are going up. This is what Gary's saying. Yes, they will go up. They are going to go up in the short term. But already the banks are saying that the interest rates are going to come down in less than 2 years' time. Okay. So for buyers, the right time to buy, because you want to be in the property market as long as you can. And for the downside is in the short term, it might cost you a bit. And remember the KFC burger. Remember, I'll show you. Interest rates are going up. So when a client says to you, interest rates are going up, I can't buy now. You say to him, listen. You say, listen, my friend, interest rates are going up, but how much is it going to cost you when they do go up? And the bottom line is this thing here. This is what you tell your clients. Buy now, because when the interest rates go up in a month's time, about 0.25%, what does it actually cost you? This hair-raising, horrifying interest rate increase. On R1 million, it costs you 150 Rand. 3 KFC burgers to own a property. Like, what are you talking about? You can't buy a house for your family to be in property now for the next 20 years because you can't afford 3 KFC burgers in a month. It makes no sense whatsoever. And if you can reduce this argument, I'll send it to you. You just need to read it and find the logic in it and say, do you understand that the interest rate going up on R1 million bond only costs 150 Rand? And it's going to come down, according to Gary, in 2 years' time. And here's Gary's number. And if it doesn't come down, you can go stay with him, because Gary is very open to that. Okay. So I'll send you this argument, but don't let people scare themselves and you about interest rates. Interest rates are part of the cycle. And you know what, Mr. Buyer, you want the interest rate to go up. What? Yes. Why? Because you got the money, and when the interest rates start going up, the prices come down. So that house that was on the market for 2.4, you know what? Between you and me, he'll take 2.2 because he's terrified he's going to get stuck with the house. So don't worry about 3 KFC burgers, you chunky monkey. Buy the house, 200,000 Rand less. Okay. So that's the argument. Let's go back to this. Do you know that there's actually a thing called the fear and greed index? And this is what drives markets. So if you really are interested in economics, you can look at a market in any way. You can look at the property market in South Africa and say, what's going on here? Why are people buying? Why aren't people buying? So buyers, why are you buying? Well, it could be that they have fear of the interest rates increasing. And fear, when the interest rates were low, they became greedy and they all climbed into the market. And you can use the same fear and greed scale for the sellers. When the interest rates are low, okay, then there are lots of buyers in the market. Then the greedy seller wants more money and they push the prices up. But now when the interest rates are going up and the buyers are coming down, the fear of those poor sellers wanting to get out of their houses. And I've heard from 2 agents this month saying, my seller has already sold and bought. One of them's in Cape Town, and the other, I think they're both in Cape Town actually. They bought there and they've got their houses here, and now they're stuck with them. They are terrified now of having 2 homes. Okay, so fear and greed are real drivers of the market. And how do you use it? Well, you talk to the buyers in the way of fear. You say, it's okay to wait. Don't worry about the 3 hamburgers that it's going to cost you. But the house price that you're going to get for 200,000 Rand less is going to go up. You are going to miss out on a 200,000 Rand discount. The fear will overcome that poor man. You'll say, I don't want to miss out on 200,000 Rand. Okay. Fear and greed is the seller. If you don't sell now at 2.2, and the market carries on like it is, and the interest rates keep going up, they're going to be less buyers and you're going to get 1.8. So you better be greedy. If you want that money, if you want your pension, you better sell now. And that's fear and greed. They work, they hand in hand, they work together. So what you need to do is just sit down and work out when you're talking to buyers and sellers, which one you can use at the right time. And it's not to scare them. This is just market psychology. It's just to say the right thing that's appropriate, because you're the professional and you have to educate your buyer and you have to educate your seller. It would be very unprofessional of you not to tell your seller that with the interest rates going up, the amount of buyers in the market goes down and your price is going to drop. In fact, your prices have dropped already and they're going to drop more. That's what you paid for. That's your job. And Mr. Buyer, if you don't climb in now, you are going to miss out on a boon, on a cheap price of the house. And it's not coming again because we've got a very good agent that says that FNB says that the rates are going up. And as soon as that, I mean, the rates are coming down. And as soon as that happens, the guys are going to climb into the market again. And you're going to miss out on the discount. So you can hear the way I'm talking. So you just need to work out which is which. When there's a buyer and the rates go up, what happens? A buyer, when the rates go up, they get less. That means that there are fewer buyers. That means prices will come down. If it's a seller and the rates go up, sellers get more desperate because it's expensive, and the buyers get less, their prices come down. And if you just keep working through those things, you'll get it right. It's like falling off a log. It's so easy. Okay, so how are sellers? This is it. This is the last slide, I think. So how are sellers then affected by the interest rate? Well, the problem that we've got in South Africa now is, remember, we've had, because of COVID, they cut rates to stimulate the economy, to help people afford their houses. They cut the rates. And that made the amount of buyers in the market quite a lot. And that's why Sandy, if you talk to who is a rental agent through and through, suddenly became a sales agent. Why? Because she realized that her clients that were paying 10,000 Rand a month, she'd say to them, hey, Kali, you're going to pay 10,000 Rand a month for this 2-bedroom. Do you know that the one next door is for sale and you can buy it for 800,000 Rand? Your bond repayments are 8,000 Rand a month. It's cheaper for you to buy it than to rent. And Kali went, yeah, I'm in. And Sandy made sales. Okay. So because of COVID and because of the stimulus packages across the world, prices, the cost of ownership came down and everybody started climbing into the thing. And what does that do? That makes more buyers and it makes sellers become greedy, prices go up. So right now, prices are quite high, overinflated. But now if you look at inflation in July was August was 7.6%. And our target range in South Africa is between, yes, well done, 4 and 6. And so it's slightly higher. And because it's slightly higher than the parameter that the Reserve Bank wants, they've decided that they're going to increase rates. And when they increase rates, it supposedly pushes down inflation. Okay, so that's good. But the high rates means that loan repayments will be higher. So it affects the buyers and the sellers. So the sellers can say, well, if the interest rates are going up, there are less buyers. That means my price is going to drop. not only does their price drop, but the cost of them holding the property goes up. Okay, it doesn't go up an enormous amount, it goes up by 3 hamburgers every 0.25% on a million. Okay, but if you own a 5 million rand property, you know, you're selling for 12 hamburgers. And I don't know, maybe you don't like, I don't know your position on hamburgers, but so remember that the loan repayments increase the cost for everybody, but because it impacts because of the demand, this last one here means that there are fewer buyers. Because the cost goes up, that means there are fewer buyers in the market. If there are fewer buyers, that means Gary has now got a show house and he doesn't have 20 people coming to it anymore at 2.2 million. He only has 3. So what does that do? Gary looks at the owner and says, listen, Kazi, we got a big problem here. I used to have 20 people a day on a Sunday. I've got 3 coming through your property. That only tells me one thing. Your property is beautiful. It only means one thing. Your property is overpriced. And the seller's going to say, how can it be overpriced? It wasn't overpriced 3 months ago when you valued it. And you'll say, of course not. But the interest rates have gone up 3 times since then. Do you understand that you're in a small world that's making a difference? There's this matter of Ukraine and Russia. They're talking about a nuclear war. The UK has got 2 prime ministers in 1 month. There's a general election in America. Interest rates are climbing. All of these horror stories are happening. You better believe your price has changed. It's certainly changed, and it's gone down. Why? Because the cost has gone up and the number of buyers has gone down to 3. And next month, when it goes up again, it's going to go down to 2. And if it goes up again, it might go down to 1. And the next month, if it goes up again, it might go down to nobody comes to buy your house. What are you going to do then? If I was you as a buyer, as a seller, I would look very carefully at your price. Because do you want to keep your house for another 6 months while this thing unravels itself? It is cyclical. So if you take it off the market and wait for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, I'm sure your pricing will come back. Maybe. Okay. But maybe you just take 100 grand knock now and move on with your life. Right. Are there any questions? So that doesn't help you because I didn't answer any of the things about the economy, the global recession, the war in Ukraine, chicken pox, monkey pox, the COVID, any of that. But all I'm trying to, I think, say to you is that you need to get a hold of your own emotions. You need to watch out for the news. It is so negative and it's so emotional and so driven to fear that you cannot help like getting sucked into it. Now, your buyers and sellers are people, man. They're going to get sucked into it too. So you have to be the professional. And you are professional because of the white coat syndrome. You are a professional because of, by virtue of the company that you're with, the experts around you, the data that we have, and the stories that you can say and tell verbatim. If a person asks you, why aren't we selling the house? Well, because interest rates have gone up, the number of buyers have gone down, therefore prices are dropping. You might not see it in real terms, but we can see it. We can literally see the prices of houses dropping month by month. That means that you're an expert. Most people can't say those sentences, can't string that sentence together because they're not in property. You guys can string it together. And if it's a seller who says, I don't think I should buy now because interest rates are going up, you can immediately say, do you know about hamburgers? What? Well, on a $1 million bond, if it goes up by 0.25% as it did last month, it'll cost you 3 hamburgers. 150 bucks. Are you going to miss this house that's discounted by 200,000 rand because of a hamburger? What's wrong with you? Look, you're not thinking clearly. Get the emotions out of it. Think of the facts. Look at the logic here. You're getting a discount of 200,000 rand. And yes, in the short term, it might cost you a little bit more. But FNB, you heard of them? Small bank, FNB, yeah, they're saying that in not even 2 months' time, the interest rates are coming down. You've got to get a handle on people's nonsense. You can't let them just say stupid stuff like, oh, there's a housing bubble. What does that mean even? That's like the stupidest thing I heard all the time. There's a bubble. What does a bubble mean? I've never heard of that. Like a housing bubble. How does that affect Cully who's selling his house in Reinsel and Marky from Badar wants to buy it? You know, one's got the money, the other one's got a price, and they make a deal. Forget about the war in the Ukraine. Cully doesn't think about the war. He wants to go fishing on the Vaal. Right? He hasn't got time for that. Right.
Anton, may I say something
Yes.
that might help?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. So what I found worked with my sellers is that if you go to their properties, and I mean, it helped with one of my properties that I sold this month. The property was on the market at 960. I refused to take the mandate at 960. So after really speaking with the seller, I actually took an offer of 890. So what I did say to him is, you know what, Mr. Seller, he said to me, basically, I'm not in a rush to sell. I said, well, then maybe what you should do is take your property off the market, because at the moment you're not going to sell at that price. And at the moment you are damaging your property on the internet. So he said, okay, well, bring me an offer. Hence, I bought him an offer of 890 and he accepted it. So I hope that can help some out there.
Thank you, Julie. That's quite right. Okay, so we have to react to the market, and we have to answer queries, and we have to present offers. That's what we do for a living.
Can I also make a comment?
Yes, please.
Thanks, Julie, for that. That's a good point. I've also got hopefully a good point is it's called pay it forward. So I've got a seller at the moment, and I've told her she's going to buy on in another area. And I said, the market conditions means you can pay it forward. If we drop your price now, you as a clean buyer will pay it forward and will be a strong buyer, clean buyer, and therefore you can put reduced offers in. So, you know, one hand feeds the other.
Yes, thank you, Gary. I must say that's also a very good point there. It's a very good thing to say what Gary's saying, and the wording that I sometimes use is you're buying and selling in the same market. So it's a terrible idea to sell your house now and then wait for 4 years to buy a house. That's like a really bad idea, because the market, you don't know what the market's going to be in 4 years' time. So if you sell now, if I took a crack on my house now, I took a 200,000 rand discount. You got to know if I'm taking that crack, everybody else is also getting it. So the next house you buy is also going to be 200,000 rand less. So you actually, it's same. Yeah. Okay. Right, everybody. Any other questions? Lovely. Thank you for your time. And as my good friend Malcolm used to say, go and sell some houses.